Hi, this is Greg Swanson with WarriorMindCoach.com. I just put out a post describing why goal setting is hazardous to your health, and I've been getting a lot of feedback from it. So I just wanted to create some clarification around it. It's not that goal setting is bad for your health. It's that when we look at setting large goals, we tend to not achieve them. And I'm going to go over why that is the case. If you haven't seen this before, when we set goals, it requires us to change in some level. And when you look at change, change requires us to move beyond our comfort zone or our complacent zone. So what defines this complacent zone? Well, on the bottom level, you have your mental support. On the top level is your mental resistance. In between these two is your complacent zone. So when we look at creating change or a goal, or especially big, hairy, audacious goals, we're putting it out here. Right? It says, go outside your comfort zone. Well, neuroscience has proven that when we start approaching this, our brain doesn't like to change. It doesn't like change at all. So when we start looking at a goal, consciously we'll set it up here. But unconsciously, we're not going to get it because our brain doesn't like to change. So that puts us in a dilemma. So when we look at this mental support and this mental resistance, we want to think, what is it? What creates it? Well, these both are created by our beliefs, our values, our past experiences, cultural beliefs, and even some meta programs that we just don't have time to go into here. So those are what sets up these boundaries. So let's just say that your mental support line is the lowest you will ever go. That's hitting rock bottom, whether it's hitting rock bottom in your life, in your weight, or even in your finances. But let's just say that you're around here, and this is January, and you're down here saying, I don't like where I am anymore. I'm going to set a goal way up there. And you start making some progress, The closer you get to this mental resistance, the less the progress is going to be. So as you approach it, you may get bored with what you're doing. You may get frustrated with the lack of progress. You may find other things to do, and then you start going down this way towards this mental support. You get to a point and go, wait a second. If I go any further, I'm not going to hit my goal. I better get myself together, get my act together, get some mental strength and start to work on this. And so then you start to climb. And you're doing really, really well. And you might even, let's just say, get right up to that mental resistance line. And then the progress stops. And that again can be shown by frustration, by making excuses, by procrastination. Any of these things will show up as mental resistance. And then you go down here. And then what happens is, when you don't get that goal, you get disappointed. Then you start having negative self-talk, and you go, this goal isn't worth it, let me do something else. New Year's resolutions don't work, blah, blah, blah. You know the whole story, right? Because we've all done it. And so you come back here. The key here, though, is to understand is that everything between your mental support and your mental resistance, you have already created. So these spots are not change. They're just creating what you've already done before in the past. So it might feel good, but when you start thinking about changing your life, changing your weight, changing your finances, you're thinking out here. And the challenge here is this is done with the conscious mind. All of those behaviors are done with the unconscious mind. This is why it's so important, if you are going to set something out there, to have a coach, to have a trainer, if you're doing fitness, to have a nutritionist, because they reside up there. They know what that is like. If you try to do this on your own, you're going to be going back and forth. Then what happens is when you can't get that, you create a story. Well, I really didn't want it. And this is your story. Between your mental support and your mental resistance is your story. Well, I really didn't want to have it. The universe didn't want me to have it. It wasn't that important to me anyway. Oh, I have other things to do. Whatever that is, that's your story. And you're going to continue in this complacent zone if you continue taking the stories, making the same old stories. One example, and when we start making excuses, it's really evident that there's a disconnect between this goal in the conscious mind and what we're doing with the unconscious mind. For example, if you had fitness as a goal and you wanted to get into a specific shape, maybe this is 190 pounds at 5% body fat, let's just say, for example. And you start going along, and you start going along, and you get up to here, and you just can't get to it. And you go, you know what, I just don't have enough time. I have family, I have work, I have this, I have that. I just don't have enough time to get into the gym. Well, then I would say, what are you doing at 4 o'clock in the morning? Mental resistance comes up going, wait a second, I can't do that. The excuses you are making provide support for your limitations. When you start making excuses that you can't get up at 4, or you can't do this, you can't do that, all you are doing is defending your limitations. And when you defend your limitations, you are supporting the story of your complacent zone. So when I put the post up about big, hairy, audacious goals, it is be careful when you set them. So one way I suggest to do that is, since this is what you've already created, is go ahead and maybe put a goal out there, not so big, hairy, and audacious, but one just outside your mental resistance. And start working with a coach, working with a trainer, working with somebody to help you, guide you through this process. And as you continue to go here, you want to have a 1 month, a 3 month, a 6 month, and then at 9 months, you want to be right at this mental resistance. So this would be your 1 year goal. So at 1 month, it's pretty easy because you've already done it. 3 months, you might be getting some mental resistance. 6 months closer. At 9 months, you're bucking up right against your mental resistance line. That's where a coach comes in handy. That's where a trainer comes in handy. And it helps you push through that mental resistance, but just a little bit, right? Just a little bit, not way out here, because you're just not going to get it. Because what happens here, when you move above this mental resistance, you have to have new behaviors, getting up at 4 o'clock in the morning, eating healthy, doing whatever. All of this is new behaviors. This is old behaviors. Nothing changes here. But those old behaviors will get you closer to that mental resistance. When you break through it, you have to have new behaviors, and that's where the coach and the trainer can help you with those new behaviors. So you get this 1 year goal, and then you hang on to it. So now, this mental resistance becomes mental support. And then you have a new line of mental resistance. See how that works? So now, what used to be down here is gone. It's evaporated because you no longer are playing in that. And now you have a new mental support, and you do the whole process over and over again. So that's kind of where I was talking about when I mentioned goal setting can be hazardous to your health, because we set these goals that are way out of our reach. And we don't know. We have to look at the time constraints it's going to take to reach that. Are we doing anything else with our life? The behaviors that we need to achieve that goal. We don't even look at what behaviors we need to do. If it's saving money, do you know how to save money? Do you know how to invest? Do you know how to do those things? If it's weight loss or fitness, do you know what to do? Because if you knew what to do, you'd already be there. So when we set these big, hairy, audacious goals, it's way outside our complacent zone, because that complacent zone is our known behaviors, our known attitudes. And we don't know how to move out of it. So we set ourselves up for failure, and then we get disappointed, and we stay in that rut and go back and forth, back and forth. So I hope that cleared that up a little bit. If you want to give me some feedback, that'd be great. Go to warriormindcoach.com/blog/contact me. There's a way to send me a voicemail and a way to send me some feedback on this. Okay? Great. Well, have a great day, and I hope that helped out. Hey, Greg Swanson with warriormindcoach.com. Just wanted to follow up on this complacent zone that I've been talking about for probably a month or so. what I've done is kind of laid this all out ahead of time so that's easier to explain, because it's important to know where our complacent zone is. And again, I say complacent because if it was a comfort zone, why do we want to get out of it if it's so comfortable? Right? If it's comfortable, why would you want to leave, right? So it's more complacent. We've kind of settled for it. We've kind of gotten into this lackadaisical part, and that's our complacent zone. So again, what defines our complacent zone is on the bottom is our mental support. That's the lowest we'll ever get in our life, whether it's weight or money. At the top is our mental resistance. And in between is our complacent zone. So what makes up this mental resistance and mental support zone? What comprises it? Well, there's many things involved, but the key ones are your beliefs. What you believe you have in life, what you believe about yourself, your values, your emotions, your behaviors. How are you behaving now is creating all the results within this complacent zone. Meta programs, which are cultural and other programming. Also time. Your belief or how much time you have in a day allows you to create all these results within this complacent zone. So you have this complacent zone, and in here are all the results that you're getting. When you set this big, hairy, audacious goal, it is way outside your complacent zone. And neuroscience has proven that when we set goals that require change, we're automatically resisting against it because our brain doesn't like to change. The key here is that this goal is set with our conscious mind. All of these behaviors are in our unconscious mind. And there's a saying that the conscious mind is the goal setter. Your unconscious mind is the goal getter. So if your results are something other than what you want, your unconscious mind is driving your behavior. Why is that important? Well, because we get all jazzed up and excited about having this big goal here. Oh, I'm going to make $1,000 a day, or I'm going to lose a pound a day. And we set all these things, and we believe it. And that's just the way we are. We think that once we set the goal, it's like Santa Claus. They're going to deliver it. But it's not the case because we hit this mental resistance line. So when we start off at, let's just say, at this point, and we want to go towards that goal, we'll come up here and we'll hit this mental resistance, and then we'll back off. So what makes this mental resistance up is fear. Unconscious or conscious fear. Well, what am I going to do if I hit that goal? Who will I be then? Frustration. Frustration in that you're not making the progress that you want. You set this goal so unrealistic, 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, and you're 3 days into it and you're getting frustrated. Well, that's that mental resistance. Another one is your excuses. Again, I said this one before, so if you're in a fitness goal and you say that, yeah, I want to lose weight, I want to do this, I want to do that, but I don't have the time. But time. That's your complacent zone. I tell you, get up at 4 o'clock in the morning. Well, excuse, I can't do that, I'm sleeping. I go to bed late at night, go to bed earlier. When we start making excuses, what we're doing is defending our complacent zone. We say we want this, but we go, no, I can't because I'm doing this. Think about this. You're making excuses to stay in your complacent zone, but yet you set a goal out here. That's insanity. So what you need to understand is that these excuses are only justifying your existence in this complacent zone. The other is procrastination. When you start getting close to this mental resistance line, oh, I've done so good. I'll do some more tomorrow. I don't have to do any more today. Or I'll take a week off. And then when you start taking that week off, it comes down to here, and then you go back up again. So one of the key things in achieving that is do it in steps. Right? I've said this before. You do it in steps. So you may do a 1 month. I would set this as a year achievable outcome. I would set minor steps as 1, 3, 6, 9 months. Make your 9 month right at that mental resistance because you've accomplished everything in here you've already accomplished. So a 1 month, a 3 month, and a 6 month is in this complacent zone. You've already done it. No big deal. But what it's going to do is build momentum. And then when you get to the 9 month, right at that mental resistance, all this stuff's going to come up. And you know what you do then? You hire a coach. You hire a trainer. I actually would suggest hiring a coach when you first start on that progress. If you're going to climb a mountain, you're not going to do it by yourself. You're going to hire a guide because the guide's been there. They know what you're going to face. They know the troubles you're going to have. They know the struggles you're going to have. Why is it that we'll hire somebody to do us physically, but we won't do it to help us out mentally? All of these things, when you're in here, you're just going to create the same. But when you set this big, audacious goal, you need to have new beliefs. You need to have new behaviors. You need to have new time, a thought about time. All this is new up here because you've never been there before. How are you going to create new beliefs, new behaviors, and more time if you don't have somebody to help you? Yeah, you can read books, you can do all that. All of that is in the complacent zone. You've already done all that, remember, and this is where you get. If you want to achieve these big, hairy, audacious goals, I'm not saying don't set them, but know what you're up against in that you're going to hit this mental resistance right out of the gate. So my suggestion is set 1, 3, 6 month goals, make this a year goal, hire a coach, hire a trainer, hire somebody who has been where you want to be, who knows the frustrations that you're going to meet, and work with them regularly to get that goal. So it's not that you don't want to set them, it's when you set these goals, you want to be aware of what you're getting yourself into. So again, I hope that helped. Greg Swanson, WarriorMindCoach.com. Love to hear your feedback on it. Hey everybody, Greg Swanson with WarriorMindCoach.com. And been getting a lot of comments, questions, just communications around this complacent zone that I've been talking about. So if you haven't seen the first 2 videos, I put up a Complacent Zone Part 1, Complacent Zone Part 2. Today I'd like to go into a little bit more about what this is. And just for a refresher, in case you haven't seen those first 2, we have in life a level, a mental support level, that we will go no lower than, that we will get no heavier than, we will have no more money than, those type of things. We will not get past this point. And we also have a mental resistance line. This one's more important than I think than this one, because this mental resistance line is made up of our beliefs, our values, our past experiences, our perceptions, meta programs, a whole bunch of other things, which actually prevent us from making change. And when you look at change, in order to change, you have to go beyond your mental resistance. Because again, what we've talked about before is you'll approach this mental resistance and then come back down and go back up and come back down. So really, what is in between here, you've already created everything in here, and you're just recreating the same thing. So that's really not change. So in order to change, you have to break through this mental resistance. And in the first 2 videos, I talked about how these 2 lines are, again, your beliefs, your values, your emotions, your perceptions that hold you in place here. And we think we're changing, we're delusional because we are seeing enhancements to our life, but in reality we're not changing at all because we're just living the same thing over and over again, kind of like Groundhog Day. So when we talked about inside here is your story, so these are all your excuses in here. When you want to change, let's say you're working with a personal trainer or a personal coach, and they suggest to do something outside your mental resistance, then all the excuses come up. Well, I can't get up that early, I can't eat this, I can't do that. And all you're doing with these excuses is justifying your limitation, is saying why I need to be stuck here. So you get that? Because when this is your story, and the story is why you want to be stuck here, but yet you say you want change. This is why it's important to hire a coach or hire a trainer or hire somebody to help you break through that. So what is in this complacent zone? Well, there are basically 3 things in there besides your story. One is your environment. Next is your behavior. And the third is your capabilities. So when you look at wanting to change, you have to change your environment, you have to change your behaviors, and you have to change your capabilities. This environment includes your home, your office, your car, your friends, your refrigerator, anything about it, anything about your environment. If you keep it the same, you're really not going to create this change. Your behaviors, what are you doing on a daily basis that keeps co-creating this? You need to change that. What are you capable of doing? Maybe you need to learn a few more things in order to break out of it. Because the goal here is, once you change your environment, your behavior, your capabilities, and you're going to be able to take those and move them up here, you are now going to have a new environment, new behaviors, and new capabilities. This now will be your mental support, and you'll have a new line of mental resistance. That is change. But this complacent zone has mesmerized us, has hypnotized us to think that if we go up and down, up and down, up and down, we're creating change in our life. We are not. We are only creating the same thing over and over and over again. So in addition to looking at your beliefs, values, emotions that have these lines, you also need to look at your environment, your behavior, and your capabilities. So with that, hope that helped out a lot. And if you have any questions, please go to warriormindcoach.com, use the Contact Me link, and send me some information. Thanks.